And in that time that I send upon you my divine help, you will call them once, and they all will stand up.
Yes, sir.
And when the messenger calls his people, and they all stand up bearing witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master BRO.RAHIM Muhammad, and that Elijah Muhammad is his messenger, where will you be and how will you feel in that standing up? Will you say, oh my, I heard him calling us to the right path and I could have helped, but I didn't? Or will you be of those who say, I am one of the disciples of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I have disciplined myself to his will and to his cause, which is the cause and will of Almighty God Allah. And I'm striving hard now with my wealth and my life in the way of Allah. And in that day when victory comes and divine help comes to the messenger, you will be among those who rejoice because you were called to help and you did help. And so for your help, you are blessed.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, who came in the person of Master BRO.RAHIM Muhammad, that great and magnificent God, we thank him for his intervention in raising amongst us the first begotten from the dead, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to welcome you, my listening audience, again to another installment of Know Thyself Radio Show, where we take the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to solve the problems of the black man and woman of today. Assalamu alaikum. We'll be right back after these brief commercials. Looking for something that feels good, looks great, and stands the test of time? Well, we have it for you. Black Royalty is our athleisure line that is made from the finest bamboo and cotton blend. We have designed a high-quality tracksuit and t-shirts in multiple colors that provide you the most comfort when you need it most. Whether you're in the gym or running errands or just lounging around with loved ones, you need to be in the best quality clothing as possible. We have constructed a high quality clothing line that does not break the bank, and we beat out all of our competitors on price. So please, if you're interested in being comfortable, not just in the gym, but when you're running around and doing errands, please visit blackroyaltywear.com. Also, you can find us on Instagram at Black Royalty. And if you have any questions or comments about our brand and how you can help participate, you can find us at blackroyaltywear@gmail.com. We'll be quick to answer your questions, and with our responses, we will be very thorough. So also, like I said, Black Royalty is for you because it was made by you with the intentions of serving you. So leave all those other clothing lines behind and get on what makes sense, something that's going to stand the test of time, because black don't crack. If you enjoy delicious soul food, you know, macaroni and cheese, greens, whole wheat biscuits, cornbread, and all of your favorite barbecue dishes, but you don't want all the garbage, high cholesterol, fat that go along with it, then come on down to Soul Vegetarian on 205 East 75th Street, where we take our mothers and grandmothers' traditional soul food cooking, but make it with a vegan twist. So we remove all of the trans fats, all of the refined sugars, and all of the unnecessary salts that are put into soul food that causes high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, and a number of other diet-related diseases. But in making it taste good without worrying about all of the ill impacts that it'll have on our health. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, please stop by at 205 East 75th Street, where we will offer you delicious soul food with vegan touch. Also, we have a juice bar that's connected that we do fresh squeeze juices every day, whether it be vegetable juices or fruit smoothies, or try our vegan ice cream soft serve machine, where we do a different flavor every day. And if you're ever on the West Loop area of Chicago, Illinois, stop by our expansion brand, Vegan Now, which is located 131 North Clinton Street, where each day between 12 and 6, we serve hot dishes to go, price per pound. So 2 wonderful locations in the Chicagoland area with delicious, tasty food with a vegan twist. Please stop on by. Your health is your wealth. Looking to get the courage to get up and get out and do something this summer, whether it's just getting overall healthier state or lose a couple pounds for that beach body? Well, we got the answer for you. Summer Fitness Boot Camp, held every Saturday from June 1st to August 10th from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 39th and Cottage Grove at the football field. For a cost of $10, we put you through a rigorous training of functional and strength and endurance using only your body weight to get into the health that you need to sustain yourself long term. So if you're interested in getting your body more active and being a healthier version of yourself, come on out. Contact us 312-646-8449 or 312-391-5234. Ask for Corey or Prince Yosef. Now this is the opportunity of a lifetime where you get expertise training to get in the shape that you deserve, not just need. Once again, every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. for only a cost of $10 from the weeks of June 1st to August 10th, 2019. Come out to 39th and Cottage Grove, the football field, where you can get into a better version of yourself. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another edition of Know Thyself Radio Show. And for those who are listening, I want to thank our sponsorship for making this podcast a reality. So if anybody out there is inquiring about having their businesses or anything that they want to do be publicized, any advertisement they would like, or if you just want to support this podcast because you feel what we're doing is so important and such an integral part of our growth and development by getting the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad out, you can reach me at yosefasiel@gmail.com and we can set that up as soon as possible. But today is another special day because, like last week, we have a believer. You're not just going to hear me teach and preach about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his impact. We have a witness bearer. And I also want to again thank my brother Jamil Munir, who was a spectacular guest, who I felt did a magnificent job. And I want to thank that brother for coming on and being my first guest. And I look forward to having you on again, brother, if you're listening. But today is a podcast episode that I feel is critical. And the brother that I'm going to be interviewing today is a brother that I had the pleasure of interviewing last week on the Munir Muhammad Show via video. Though this doesn't have the visuals that the Munir Muhammad Show, I think that the audio and the words that my brother will be speaking will be so impactful that it still will resonate the same. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you and refamiliarize those who are already familiar with this brother, Brother Rahim, formerly known as Antoine Wright. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How you feeling?
Wa alaikum salam. How you doing, brother?
Oh, spectacular. Like I said, brother, it's a blessing to have you on again, and I'm glad that we could do this again because the message that you have with the testimony of your life, I think, is so critical in this day and time because it shows, and I don't want to give too much away at the forefront, but it shows what a brother can do and what he can become if he's patient with himself. And if Almighty God Allah has favor on that person, that you can be preserved, that though times look dark and gruesome, like you can't overcome them, that there is no way out, there always is if you stay true and faithful to who and what you are in the belief of Almighty God Allah and his messenger. And I think your life bears witness to that, brother, and that's why you were able to see greener days. You know what I'm saying? You were able to see a more prosperous future by creating a present that is advantageous for you, brother, and for your family and anybody who has the ability to take heed to your message through your life. So if you can, because my audience may not be familiar with you. Give them just a brief introduction of who you are and what you are about and why this conversation we're going to have today is so important. I think we're going to dive right into it, brother. You got the floor.
Okay. Yes. I'd like to greet everyone in the greetings of the universal greetings of Assalamu Alaikum. My name is Rahim, formerly known as Antoine White. I would like to start off by saying what I'm about is definitely the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because the teachings have showed me a lot. It gave me a lot, and also it freed me from this bondage that was placed upon me, being incarcerated for 13 years in the penitentiary, coming home and trying to survive and make it, but to have that X still attached to my back, not being able to go further in life, achieve certain things that I wanted to achieve. But since I have learned the studies of Elijah Muhammad and been introduced to Crow, it opened doors for me, and it opened a light that I was able to see so that I can be able to succeed and go further in life.
All praises due to Allah, sir. So let's start at the beginning, and then we don't have to necessarily start when you were born, but I think I want to start where things started to take a turn for the worse. And so tell us when were you first incarcerated and the circumstances behind that.
It started in 1993. I was charged with a case which led me to the penitentiary and to serving 13 years in the Illinois Department of Correction. There, sitting in the Illinois Department of Correction, I was very angry, frustrated, because I was sitting in this prison cell for a case that I was railroaded on. It was definitely a struggle trying to survive in that institution, or should I say the new modern day slavery that we haven't seen yet, that we losing focus on, that this is the new modern day slavery. And it was there when I first learned about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by picking up a book and reading about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
So you caught a case in 1993 because I think that, like I said before when we talked the first time, see, this timeline is so important, brother, because like I said, it's going to make sense to the listeners as we go through it, but I really want to show the importance of time and how it can be wasted, and also how it can be used to a benefit if you understand what time is.
Yes.
So 1993 is when you caught the case, and I believe you said before 1994 was the year you actually went in to start to serve.
Yes.
And also I want to give a footnote to my audience. See, that 1994, since we're in this political climate that we're in now, you hear these white supremacists who are cloaked in the garments of being a friend and an ally to black society, was the author of the 1994 crime bill, which incarcerated a lot of our brothers and sisters, but especially our brothers like Brother Rahim, unjustly, and put them in without any redress or recourse or give them a fair chance to even fight the case. And I think that was your circumstance as well. As soon as you got arrested, it wasn't really any way that you could get out. Nobody was hearing you. Nobody was letting you appeal this. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. As you spoke of the bill in 1994, they introduced a bill called accountability law. Within the bill and the accountability law, if someone other than yourself commit a crime or either attempt to do, you can just be standing there And by you standing there with that individual, you automatically just as guilty
So
because you stand
guilty
there
by
with,
association then, huh?
yes, guilty by association. So now what they have did, making guilty by association an actual guilty, you can actually serve more time than the person that actually committed the crime than you just standing there looking.
See, this is why I wanted to have this brother on, because his life is, if we can take heed, such a valuable lesson. And he also has a wealth of knowledge being in these circumstances and situations that he is able to articulate how to avoid these pitfalls. See, this brother, I want you to listen, especially my young brothers who are listening to this broadcast. Really take heed to what he's saying, because there's a lot of things that's going on in society that we're just not familiar with, that we're not accustomed to, or that we take for granted. And these are plans and actions that put in place by an open and outright enemy to totally keep us from being a free people again. And what my brother said, and I think what wasn't really articulated, you don't even have to know the person that is being convicted or arrested for a crime. You just had to be in the vicinity. And this is a way that they were railroading our brothers and sisters and being able to round them up in large numbers by this law. Am I correct, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes. This law is designed to basically how you go out and go fishing and cast your fish net out. That's what they do to us. They cast the fish net out to incarcerate black men by the multitude. And one of their plans is by incarcerating the multitude, what it does is it destroys the next black generation that's coming up, because now you're taking away the black male from out of the household. So you're taking the black male out of the household. Now the black male is not effective with their children. Now they're not able to teach, guide, and show them the things that they need to be shown. So now what you're doing now what they're doing, the plan is to incarcerate us, take the black male out of the household, so that way that the children can be lost and be in the same situation as well too. Because as I sat in that penitentiary, I have ran into a lot of brothers that was incarcerated where their sons ended up there with them, where their sons was their cellmate, because that father was taken from out of the household. That son was left without no direction. And guess what? They fell in the same net that was cast out on the father. And the father look up, here come their son in the same situation that they in. Now they cellmates inside Illinois Department of Correction.
And you witnessed that, brother, firsthand.
Firsthand.
See, I want you to listen to what my brother is saying. This is a reality that we just wasn't facing in 1994, but we're facing in 2019, that we were facing beforehand. This has been an agenda, an open plan to totally, as the scripture says, bound the strong man and rob the house. Where else would his son end up if not but in prison, if he's going to befall the same circumstances, and there's no one at home to teach and guide him and to show them through the mistakes that he has made not to go that course, not to take that route. And so you see why it's such an epidemic of our young men being arrested and being foolish, because there's no one there to teach them. There's no one there to guide them. And then because society has made strong, black, intelligent, spiritual men be taboo, now our young brothers and sisters don't even want to listen to you. The mothers have been poisoning because of their lack of understanding in a lot of cases, not in all, but in a lot of cases, the young men, and effeminize them to a certain circumstance, thinking they're protecting them, that they don't even want to listen to their fathers no more. Even when they come out and they try to make amends for the mistakes that were made and try to right those wrongs the best way possible, there's such a high level of disdain that is implanted in those children, especially those young men, by the mothers and by society, that they don't want nothing to do with their fathers. Would you say that's the case, brother?
Yes, sir. And I can speak about it firsthand. I'm somewhat still faced with that same situation. With me being incarcerated for the 13 years that I did, it took a lot away from my own son, which I'm still faced with right now today, of trying to amend with him. When I first was released and returned back home, as my son got older, I started hearing the resentment that he had for me, his own father, because he felt like I wasn't there to come to none of his baseball games, to do the father and son things that he would like to do. So I had to be scrutinized, beat up on, and fight with myself just to be able to tell my son, I'm sorry for what has happened, but try to make amends. But the thing is, it's still a struggle for him. That's something that he have to work with to get back to saying, you know what, I'm gonna forgive my daddy, but it take time. And my son is 25 years old, and he still struggle with that.
When was your son born?
My son was born in 1994, right when I was incarcerated.
So he didn't know his father for the first half of his life because of this situation. And because of that, and it wasn't anybody at home to speak of your character, to speak of you in a positive light. As soon as you got out, you thought you were coming home to a son to try to build a relationship. You was coming home to a stranger.
To a stranger, and someone that has a lot of anger built up towards me. So, and just to show you how the system is designed to destroy the black man, it attacks the outside and the inside. So it goes in to make sure it destroys the head, the body, to mental part, so that way they leave no existence of us. So
that's powerful, brother. That's powerful. I want you to go back to that. But I want to, like I said, I want to stay on this timeline, brother, because that we got to come back to, because that's a whole nother monster in its own right. And I want us to really take our time and be methodical with it. But I want to stay on this timeline, brother. So 1994, you're incarcerated. You're in prison. You're wondering, how the heck did I get in this circumstance and situation? You're wondering if I'm ever going to get out of this. You angry. You pissed at everybody, including yourself. And eventually you come across the teachings of the messenger of most honorable Elijah Muhammad. What year was that, and how did that come about?
It's 1994. I went off to actually serve the time in the Illinois Department of Correction. As you stated, very mad, angry, very distraught, just about the whole situation of me being incarcerated. So at that time, through all the anger, I looked for an inner self, a peace, or something that can wake me up and guide me and take me another direction. So I want to say around a couple of years after being incarcerated, I used to get these pamphlets, and it had all of Elijah Muhammad books in there. So I'm looking at all these books, and all I kept saying to myself, I gotta get one of them books. I gotta get one of them books. And the book that stood out the most to me was The Message to the Black Man. Then on top of that stood out next is the colors, was Red and Black, The Fall of America. So that was the next book that stood out. But I purchased the book, but I didn't read the book right then and there, because I was like, I was trying to like find myself first because I gotta really sit down and pick this book up and read it.
So when you first got the book, you wasn't mentally prepared to read it.
Not yet.
You were aware enough that something about this book, Message to the Black Man, something about this book, Fall of America, you needed to read. You needed to immerse yourself in these teachings, but you still didn't feel you were prepared enough to actually read it. And what year was this, if you don't mind me asking, brother?
So we figured, I want to say 94, during the time of incarceration. Yeah. So I want to say about 97.
So this is three years in. You knew you needed the messenger, but you knew also that you wasn't ready for what he was about to give you.
Right, because I still had so much anger built up in me at the system. But I knew it was a lesson there. I just needed to sit down and receive it. Receive this message that was meant for me and the multitude of brothers. It was just a matter of the individual sitting down, receiving it. But when I finally sat down and received, it opened abundance of light. The stuff that it started preparing me without me even knowing it, but unconsciously it was preparing me for when it's time for me to go home, and prepare me for the individuals that I was around, and I mean the people that has incarcerated me. It was shedding light on them individuals.
And so once you finally read it, so after you got the teachings, at that point, were you converted to Islam? Did you become a follower? Was it other followers in there that you could be able to communicate with? How was that circumstance like in jail? Well,
at that time, I became a Muslim, but I became a Sunni Muslim. Now, when I became
let's stop right there for a second, because I kind of want to delve into that, brother, if you don't mind me. So,
yes, go ahead.
Reading the teachings, it convinced you enough to return back to your nature. Yes. But in doing so, you wasn't prepared to be a Muslim follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You wanted to just be a Muslim as far as replicating and imitating those who are in the East?
Yes.
Okay, what caused you to have that frame of thinking versus the latter?
Because it was a mixed direction. I was told that the brothers of the East this is the proper way that you practice Islam.
So the messenger didn't have true Islam. You had to go to those in the East. So when you were telling people in prison about the teachings, their rebuttal or response would be, that's not real Islam.
Right. You have to do it this way.
And you started that way. You started to fall to peer pressure.
Peer pressure and mimicking.
So you kind of like, okay, because you hadn't seen anybody inside who was championing the messenger, I would suppose. Though I'm pretty sure it was other brothers in the Nation of Islam that were in there, correct?
Yes, it was.
But they just didn't have the pull that those who were practicing Sunni Muslim did.
Exactly. They didn't have the pull, so it was, once again, it was a deception thing, because they knew that the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was so powerful that they had to figure out a way to stop his information from coming through, because the Nation of Islam had the hardest time in preparing and putting the information together, so we can meet and sit down and talk. So they wasn't granted that opportunity like they did the Sunnis. So I guess they felt like the Sunnis was more or less of a threat, because they knew everything that they did was in Arabic, and the blacks that did follow, it's just more of a mimicking thing. But they knew if they pick up this book by the messenger, it's gonna change the whole setting. So they didn't want that.
That's
so
a
they
good.
had to come up with a plan.
That's a good
So-
point, brother. Not to cut
Yes.
you off, but I think, and I really want the audience, because like I said, your life is magnificent. If we could only take heed, because it shows how you can be easily deceived if you're not aware. You see what I'm saying? So many
Yes.
lessons that you can learn in the story that you're telling, and I want our people to understand, why do they try to keep Islam, as so taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, away from our people, but they seem to be very willing to give you Islam, though is presented by those in the East? And this is supposed to be the same Muslims that are committing terrorist attacks, who are supposed to be responsible for 9/11 and other things around the globe. These are the so-called Muslims that are the outright open enemy to the nation of America, but yet and still they're able to come into your communities and set up liquor stores and corner stores and gas stations. They're able to do all these things, but yet be a threat to the safety and the security of America. But you have somebody who has never took up arms against you. You have someone who don't carry weapons, who are taught to be a peaceful, submissive people, and submissive in the name of Allah, not to white supremacy, but to be a people who don't cause any harm or danger to anyone's society, to be respectful. But they are told to stay away from those people. Those are people, I'm talking about the Muslims who are taught and followed by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because they clean you up as a black man. It teaches you to reject white supremacy. It teaches you to do for self and to be a part of your own, and to separate from your open and outright enemy, which is the white man here in America and throughout the planet. So that is, looking back, you can see kind of was the case and why they said, no, we're not letting the chaplain get the established for the Nation of Islam Muslims, but we can do so for the Sunni and so forth. Would you say that's
Yes.
the case, brother?
Yes, sir. In every sense of the word. You said it best.
Oh, praise be to Allah. And not that I was trying to cut you off, brother, but I like I said, it's so much, and I really want the people to know, especially our generation, why we're here and why we have to create avenues like this, and we can have conversations like we're having with you, brother, because the people need to know why they tried to write out the messenger of Allah from our history books, because he was the one who stood on the premise of truth, unadulterated truth, did not waver left nor right, stayed on the path, the straight and narrow path of Almighty God Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, who personally taught him. And that type of knowledge cripples this society. That type of knowledge will destroy and replace it with a society of justice and peace. And that's one thing that these white supremacists can't take. And so, brother, I want you to say at this point, going down that line, when did you, or was it any time in jail that, did you go back to being a Muslim follower? Was there any time in jail that you started to see the Muslim followers of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in a different light? Was it anybody who came and kind of changed your perspective, to kind of give you that exampleship of what the meaning and how successful you can be in the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Yes, it was. First, I want to say I still struggle, still running around mimicking what at the time I thought what Muslims were supposed to be like and do. Everything that I know was completely done in Arabic. Nothing was there specifically for us as a black man, as a black race, as the Asiatic black man. We didn't. It wasn't nothing there, but it was a brother that came by the brother of Munir Muhammad from Crow. And when that brother came, I was so infatuated with the way his presence was. At the time, I was partaking in a cosmetology class because I was working towards my cosmetology degree and my barber's license. And I was actually in there doing hair. I looked up and I seen this brother Munir, come through with such confidence that I was like, man, I stopped and paused for a second because I wanted to see who this person was. Then I politely asked my teacher to step out into the hallway so I could meet this brother.
So that brother was he was a game changer for you.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. In every sense of the way. He was definitely the game changer, which put my mind in perspective of where did he come from? How did he do this? And this guy got some heck of a power and a brighter light, a sunshine that was so bright that came through there. You couldn't help but like, wow. So once he introduced himself and told me what he was about, that he belonged to Crow, being a co-founder of Crow. And in my mind, I'm like, what is Crow? What is Crow? So when I found out what Crow was about, I'm saying to myself, so this is what else Elijah Muhammad is about. The messenger put it into Munir Muhammad to do what he do. And that is going out, touching brothers, the real touch, the hand of gold, the real touch.
So, not to stop you off, because you said something real keen, brother. You said that you felt like you was touched, that in essence it was Allah sending a representative of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to show and to prove what you had read was real. And that those disbelievers who were trying to discourage you from the teachings really didn't know what they were talking about. And this was an example of how everything that they said was wrong was actually right, and everything they said was right was wrong. Because this was a brother bearing witness who came into jails that didn't have to, looking a certain type of way, moving a certain type of way, speaking a certain type of way, who inspired you. Because you seen yourself, I would assume, correct?
Yes.
All praise be to Allah, sir. So what year was this?
This was like the year of, I want to say about I want to say about 2000.
Year 2000, okay.
Yes.
So
2000.
this is 6 years in before you were given, I guess, the example or were given the sign that this is the proper course. Just stay course. It's going to work out. And so how was your experience after that with Brother Munir and meeting him and seeing this type of follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
So my experience after that made me dig even more into the book that was written by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I said to myself, okay, I got to read even more further into this book, because if this brother is shine like that from just the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, I can do the same thing too, because the book is written for all of us as a black nation. So now I need to figure out where my shine is at.
So as the messenger teaches, outside of Allah and his messenger, you either equal to or less than. So you knew that you could be at that same level.
Yes, sir.
All you had to do was apply these teachings and you would be able to produce as such as well. So I'm pretty sure that was encouraging. So
yes, it was.
Okay. So keep on going, brother.
So when I started reading and gaining this knowledge, so my thing was that I have to apply it now. I'm gonna have to apply it when my release date is coming up. But I applied it there also because it allowed me to learn the ways of the white people that was actually over us in this system. So it showed me how they think, what they plan was for us, and that they still had an agenda to see me back there.
So
And
as the messages say, study the white man, you can learn much. So you use the more intellectual approach to your situation and your circumstances. Instead of just being angry and mad and having this vitriol towards everybody, you challenging that anger into something that would produce something that would ultimately get you out of there.
Yes. And when I studied that white man, I knew he had a plan to bring me back. So I wasn't going to fall prey to his fishnet again. I wasn't going to be part of the dragnet, and he wasn't going to bring me back in through that revolving door that they ever so look for every black man to come back through that revolving door so they can finish destroying you off. And I wasn't about to be partake in that. So I learned from what was written, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
No problem, brother.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad book, Message to the Black Man. It told me what to expect, and I took heed of that. So a part of my re-entering back in society allowed me not to go back into the system.
Okay. So this time you're out. What year is this when you actually are released from prison?
I was released in 2006.
2006. Was it for good behavior, or did you just serve your full term?
I served my full term.
Okay. So you out, not on parole. I'm pretty sure you had probation because that's mandatory in those type of circumstances.
Yes, I had parole, 3 years parole.
3 years parole, okay.
And also they had to show you how the plan was to still try to hope that you'll slip and come back through the system. They put me on parole and put me on a leg monitor for a year.
So you were on house arrest. Home detention, house arrest for a whole year. So you weren't able to create any sources of income for yourself. You weren't able to provide for your son, who is 13 now. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Because of 13 years you served. So he's 13. You not only can you not provide for him, you can't spend time with him outside of the household. And I'm pretty sure circumstances was as such that the woman that you had, did she stay with you? Or
and the thing was to show you that part of how that destroyed as well, because I was actually married at the time. That destroyed my marriage and also destroyed the relationship with my son. So
you couldn't see your son unless he came to visit you, and because he didn't have good feelings towards you, that was almost limited to none.
Yes, sir.
See, they set us up for failure. If you don't have God and His messenger to make it out of these circumstances, I mean, you really, really have no reality or no chance that is conducive to anything that would be positive. It's going to lead you back into hell one way or another. Even if you don't go back to jail, the mentality is as such that you're not clear about what, like my brother said, the agenda truly is, what the motives are, and you're not able to protect yourself. So now, you're out of jail, though you're on house arrest. Okay, you get out for house arrest. Are you able to get work, or are you coming around the Muslims? What's your...
At the time, I was still, even though I learned what the messenger had written, I was still a little sidetracked being at home, because I still felt like I still had to go to this white man because I needed a job.
Okay, and the white man. So what do you mean by the white man? Do you mean as far as the mosque, the church? What do you mean?
Far as in the job world.
Oh, in the job world. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like I still had to beg him I still had to beg him for a job because you already done destroyed my life with incarcerating me, but you put this X on my back. So now what that does is it prevent me from trying to get a job.
So with that felony, it's almost impossible to get any type of legitimate work or any work at all.
Yes.
So how did that begging go? Since you said you had to go to beg, brother, how did that go? Did that work out for you?
That didn't go good because I found myself begging for a McDonald's job. Coming home with an associate degree, thinking that, with this degree, doors is going to open. But they proved to me, nah, it don't work like that.
So, in your mind, you're thinking that, damn, I'm wasting my time and I've been lied to again. So now that anger is start to resurface because you felt that you were tricked, that you were bamboozled. Hey, you're going to get this degree. You're going to be reformed. You're going to put you back out in society and you'll be able to be a harmonious participant and civilized person in amongst the people again. You would be rehabilitated, which is they like to sell us on that these jails are, rehabilitation centers. But it's quite the contrary. Nobody wanted to touch you. You was taboo.
As every much in such a word. It was taboo. It was trickery. I was fooled.
And they said you weren't even qualified enough to even flip burgers or mop McDonald's floor.
Not even just that. By having that X on my back, we have a list that was given to us telling us what jobs that we're not ever able to get. And one of them jobs was listed as a dog trainer.
So they said that dogs were more valuable than the black man. You couldn't even be around their dogs. To hell with being around them or their children or you couldn't be around their own pets.
Not your own pets. So now what that's telling me is like this is definitely a plan to destroy. And I had to revert back again to the book, to the messenger, because I'm like kind of straddling the fence because the messenger say do this, but I'm looking at, okay, where do I get a job from? What do I do? But the messenger had already explained to us about doing for self. But I didn't take heed to that at first because I was still thinking that
you had to go through the white man.
Do this. I have to go through him. I got to go through him.
That fear was still there.
Yeah, it been programmed into us for so long.
Teach, brother. Teach.
So unconsciously, you tend to still mimic and do what they say do.
So you're reading the teachings of the messenger. You want to do for self, but at this point, it's inconceivable because you can't even work as a dog trainer. So were you coming around the Muslims? Because if I know Brother Manir, as I think I do, I'm pretty sure he told you when you got out, come to Crow, come around the Muslim.
Yes, he did.
Okay, so were you able to do that? Was that something that was on your mind, or?
It definitely was on my mind, but
you weren't able to pull the trigger, huh?
I wasn't able to pull the trigger. I fell short of that, and that actually.
So were you going to any type of sanctuaries or any spiritual environments to try to
once
cope
again
with these circumstances?
I found myself part of the trickery circle because I ended back up at what we call the Sunni Muslims.
Couldn't let them go, huh? That Arabic was too enticing, huh? It was too attractive.
It was too enticing. and what I found out, what I was doing by going, I was kind of just really going almost to just let somebody see me. Hey, I'm over here at the mosque. Because I wasn't getting nothing out of it. I was just there doing some salats, listening to them, doing Juma and them giving the khutbah, but which was all in Arabic. I couldn't tell you right now today what was said, and that's sad.
So
Because
you going to Juma, you doing your Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, all of that,
yes,
and nothing is coming out of it.
nothing,
Mm.
nothing. I might as well have been a dead leaf laying in there.
So you thought maybe if I show up at mosque, if I go to Juma, that maybe somebody may see me and offer me a job or help me out. Something.
Yes, exactly. I'm more so like, hey, look at me.
Yeah,
I'm over here.
Thought they would bring you into the fold, and that never happened.
Wasn't nobody seeing me. I might well have just been a ghost, as they say.
So were these Arabs that you were going to the mosque with?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes, everyone that was an Arab.
So and now you know why you got to be, because they were taking care of their own, I assume.
Very much so. Every one of them took care of their own, far as from clothing to jobs to ownership of property and business.
But they accepted your charity.
Very much so.
But they did not give any in out.
None. As they called it, the zakah.
Yeah, the zakah.
Which was from charity. Nice 2 big boxes in front that you drop money in, but they will give you a free prayer book and a free Quran, which you can go buy yourself. But I ain't seen nobody offer a job or a piece of property or to show me how I can get my own business just as well as you do.
Well, you should have known when they wouldn't even tell you what they were saying, let alone help you with that. That should have been the sign, brother. But like you said, you got to go through these circumstances and learn. Okay. So at what point did things start to change? Because you out of prison. It's been a couple of years now. You're still not able to find a job. You're still not being accepted by the spiritual so-called organizations of the Sunni Muslims and so forth and so on. So when did kind of things start to change for you? Because I remember you saying something around the year 2013.
Yes. 2013, things was kind of changing. I'm working as a barber, working in the barber shop, doing things, but it was still stuff kind of missing. Stuff still wasn't completely there yet. It wasn't until I put in for my expungement for my case that I was incarcerated for. So at the time when I put in for it, it was actually a thing that they was doing for ex-felons. So I go to the event that they was having. So the very first time when I did it, they had lines hanging around the corner. I stood in line for 2 hours. Finally got through that line after waiting 2 hours. I got in there. Now I brought the paperwork that they told me that I needed to bring. But when I got it there, I showed them that paperwork. The first thing they said, "Oh, you're missing some paperwork." I said, "Well, this is what y'all told me to bring." "Well, you're going to need forms 682. I'm saying, "Okay, well, where do I get that from?" Unfortunately, they had a whole system set up so you can purchase this paperwork that you need. So I got a line. I went and purchased this paperwork, which cost me $20. Get back in line. They go over it. Okay, check. "Oh, you still need the other paperwork." I'm like, "Wait a minute, y'all just told me I need this. Now I just paid $20 for this." Get out of line. Now I pay another $20 for some paperwork. So I get in there. So now that's $40 that's spent plus the money that I already spent to get my rap sheet to show that I haven't been in any trouble. So all together, so far I'm looking at about $60. So after that, I received all the paperwork. I get back in line. They go through everything. Okay, all right, good. Looked at it. You know what? I don't know why they told you this to get in the line. This is not expungible. So I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
They had you running around in circles just after you finally did everything that they say to do, after they played these reindeer games with you. At the end of the conversation, at the end of the day, they told you that what you were trying to do wasn't even feasible.
Wasn't even feasible. After they tricked me and took my money.
Oh, they had to do that.
So apparently that long line that they had hanging around the corner, every black person that was in that line got tricked and they took all their money.
So not one person who sought out to get an expungement in that long line around corners, I could imagine, that stood there for hours and hours, were able to accomplish what they set out to do.
Not a soul.
So it goes back to what we were saying earlier. The system is set up for you to fail.
Yes, very much. So at this time, I sat back. I didn't do it because I was mad, upset again. So now I'm back in the same circle again, upset. And cried to myself because I'm like, man, it just seemed like I'm not getting anywhere. So again, I go downtown, redo all the paperwork over again. So now at this point, I got the paperwork through. But now I'm still struggling with who can vouch for me. So I struggle, I'm fighting with it in my head. The only thing that can come up in my head was Munir Mohammed, Crow.
And so what year was this, brother?
This was actually 2019.
So this was this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so 2013 up until 2019, you were working on getting your expungement, but nothing happened.
Nothing. So that was the struggle.
And 2019, the thought came to you. Let me go back to the brother that inspired me at the beginning in 2000 to really take heed to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But you hadn't been around him. You hadn't came to Crow yet. You hadn't done any of those things yet, have you?
Nothing.
Okay.
I haven't did none of it. So I definitely felt I was upset with myself because I didn't come to Crow. But, not to make an excuse, because that was on me and I take responsibility for that not coming. But the thing is, I was so caught up in what I believe that I should have been doing. Chase this job, get this job.
Were you able to, in that time span from 2013 to 2019, were you able to get any employment?
I was still stuck to struggling. Then I finally was able to get an employment, and it was through Ford Motor Company.
Okay, so you were able to get Ford Motors, and this was year what?
This was like the end of 2014.
Okay, so 2014. So this is, you said you got out in 2006.
Yes.
Okay, so this is 8 years later.
8 years later.
Okay.
8 years later, I'm still fighting, and finally was able to
get a job.
But
it wasn't what you really could do because you still got this ex lingering over you.
Still got the ex. So which prevented me from putting in for other positions.
Yes, sir.
To try to go to the next level because
so there's no room for growth.
No room.
Because you at the bottom of the totem pole in this company, and they gave it to you. I'm pretty sure they get some type of tax incentives or breaks for hiring those who ex-felon. So of course they trying to meet their quota, but you knew that wasn't the position that you wanted to stay in for the rest of your life, and you knew that you had to grow and evolve and do better things with yourself, and you had to get this up off you. You had to get that expungement But like you said, until that point, you wasn't able to do so.
It was just like I was put right back in the slavery mentality, because they brought me in, but they stuck me right on the line. So it was just like back in slavery when they were picking cotton, I was picking car parts. So I was still stuck in that frame, but it paid the bills.
Yeah. And so that was your rationalization in your mind that, yeah, I'm doing something I probably don't like. Yeah, I'm doing something that's probably, I'm pretty sure it wasn't the best conditions for your health. I won't have to go into that, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the case.
It wasn't.
And yet and still you had to endure because I'm paying the bills. And you knew you couldn't go back to not paying the bills. So you had to just deal with it.
Deal with it because I refused to go back through the revolving door.
But yet and still you were stuck there. So it was, you was between a rock and a hard place, so to speak.
Yes, sir. So, and at that time of me struggling, going through that, I still knew that I needed somebody to basically put the golden stamp, because I'm like, I couldn't think of nobody. Like I was telling you, the only person that could come up, my name was Munir. And
because you tried before and nobody else could do it, nothing else that you did.
Nobody but Munir, which that power was given to him from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to allow him to go in and do what he do best.
Okay, so his ability to make friendships in all walks of life, so teaches the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when you become his follower, allowed him to speak on your behalf and get you out of that circumstance.
Yes, sir.
So now you have the expungement.
Yes, I have the expungement done. I mean, it was such a rejoice feeling that I had to when I left out that courtroom with him. When I came from up out the doors, all thing I could do was cry, because all I kept saying, it finally happened. It finally happened. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, it finally happened.
So I got a question. Are you still a Sunni Muslim brother, or are you coming over to the Messenger of God?
Sunni got left back in the day.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm over here with the Messenger, the real God.
Yes, sir. So what about Crow? Are you at Crow?
Yes, sir. I'm with Crow.
All praises be to him.
Crow being one of the best organizations out there that speaks the truth. It allows you to be yourself. It allows you to be able to grow. It puts your frame of mind in the right thinking, so therefore you will never, ever be deceived again in life, because Crow is giving you them lessons.
All praise due to Allah, brother. Well, and like I want to just say to my listening audience, I told you this brother had a magnificent story, and I wanted to tell you how it all comes full circle. And though he didn't mention, and we don't have to go into it because I see time is of the essence, but this is a brother who right before his expungement for reconnecting with Brother Munir Muhammad and the brothers and sisters of Crow had 4 strokes. Hear what I just said. Had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 strokes where he was unable to speak, move, or anything of that nature. And you had to reteach yourself, brother, if I'm not mistaken, all of these things.
Yes, sir.
And how long ago was this?
It was 2.5 months ago.
2.5 months ago. And when you were conceivably on your deathbed, all you could think about was, if I make it out of this, I got to get that expungement, huh?
Yes, and that's the thing. And to show you how good God is, all I could say was look at God, because it allowed me to be able to still connect with Munir, allowed me to still connect with Crow. So that showed me that was definitely meant, and it was a must that I get over there to Crow and receive this messenger as the truth. And that being the truth put me in a direction that is so great to where it's the sky is endless now.
All praise be to Allah. Well, brother Rahim, I want to thank you for taking your time out to have this conversation with me and to tell your story without fear or favor, and to be an example to our brothers and sisters who are listening. And brother, may God continue to protect you, continue to watch over you, and continue to guide you, and may you stay true to your mission. And I want my listening audience to know that though it took this brother 26 years to come back home, he made it back home. But you don't have to take that long. See, he was stubborn along the way. He had to go through these things so he can be an example for you. But you don't have to be the stubborn person that he was and try to find other ways besides God and his messenger. And he's telling you with his own mouth. I'm not saying this for him. His story just told you that he had to bear witness to the greatness of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And doing so, everything that he wanted in life was able to come into fruition. The thing that he just told you that he had 4 strokes, and he said, if I make it out of this, I still don't know how the hell I'm gonna go on, because I got this expungement that I gotta get. But because he made it through, and he had the power and the will to make it through those situations, to make it out of jail, to make it through the family and the domestic issues, God sent him an angel to finish something that he could not do himself. And that was to remove that tarnish from his name so that he can be a free man and woman in his own heart to do the things that he needs to do. And now this brother is prepared to build his own nation, a nation of our own for our people. So brother, you got the last word as we get ready to wind down. Anything you want to say to this beautiful listening audience?
Yes, I definitely want to say, for those who are out there in the world, please pay attention to what's going on. Take heed to what the messenger has to say. Pay attention. Look closely, because it is definitely trickery going on to destroy the black race. And as you pay attention to the messenger, pick up a book from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the black man, message to the black man, so that way that you won't be fooled by the trickery of these white people out here, because they definitely is trying to destroy us. For you young brothers, please pay attention. Look, listen, learn from what we saying and what we talking about. Learn about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Read his word, take heed, so that you won't fall victim to this plan of destruction of the black race. And I say that so strongly. There's a lot of black brothers out here that's willing to help and guide you, but it's nothing like the messenger. Come over to Crow, take time, come over to Crow, see us, come out here and talk with us. We'll sit down with you, go over the message with you. We're going to talk with you. We're going to get you on the path that you need to be on. And with that, I would just like to say, wa alaikum salam.
Thank you so much, Brother Rahim. And I will have you back again by the grace of Almighty God, if you so choose to, because you got more that you need to tell. And we got more that we need to tell, because I know me and you, brother, are going to be working together.
Yes,
the
sir.
Good brothers and sisters of Crow to do great things for our people in the community. And we're going to change these things up. And we're going back to the jails. And we're going to reach our brothers and sisters. And we're going to give them the way, so they don't be in a circumstance or a situation that they end up right back there again, or even worse, end up back there with their children. So I thank you for listening. I'm going to come back on the other side with some commentary to close it on out. But I want to thank you again, my brother. And until next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Once again, I want to thank my brother Rahim for coming on tonight and bearing witness again to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but bearing witness in a way that shows what it can do for you if you so choose to listen and take heed to what has been given to us. And a lot of times, and that's why I wanted to have this brother on, because a lot of times we take things for granted. We take things lightly. We take things as just a coincidence, and then the worst happens. The inevitable happens. We lose loved ones. We lose circumstances or situations that keep us free or keep us out of prison. And in worst case scenario, we actually lose our physical lives. And this brother shows that though in a lot of instances he was on the cusp of death, he was able to make it through. And I want my brother to know that that's not a coincidence nor a happenstance. Use the blessing that you have been given, the second chances, the third chances, the fourth chances, the fifth chances, the 8th, 9th, 10th chances that you have been given to do something productive. Stand for truth. Stand for Almighty God, Allah, and His messenger. And be the catalyst of change on the planet that needs to produce a better world. So, brother, this is your chance to step up and do right by what you have been given. Don't look at yourself or circumstances as woe me. Look at it as I have overcome and I have outlasted the devil in these circumstances and situations. But don't take them for granted, because as soon as you do, that's when it's snatched right from up under you. And I'm using this brother as an example, but I'm saying this to all our people out there. Do not get complacent. Do not feel comfortable. Even if you're not in jail, even if you think you got some money, even if you think your life is okay. As long as you're in a system of white supremacy, you're being oppressed, and you're being murdered and shot down in the streets, whether it's you personally or someone you know personally, as long as you're people in them circumstances, it's not long before it comes to your front door. So let's go to the messenger of Almighty God, Allah, who came to us to bring up and raise up that first begotten from the dead, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And let's listen to what he has given us and showed us through his many tapes and his many writings, because we know for surety that he has a cohesive and collective answer that will bring forth this new reality that we so desperately need. I thank you again for indulging me and listening. I thank Brother Munir and the members of Crow and all those who have stood for truth in this day and time. But it's our time now to stand up and to make their works be prosperous and not in vain. We shouldn't ask them to do this forever. We shouldn't ask them to try to hold on and not be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. That means this next generation must step up and show our worth, that we are reliable and that we have the ability to produce the same and greater of what they have done in the name of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because at some point, somebody's going to have to do it. Why not us? So I implore those who are listening to this beautiful podcast and all of the testimonies that have came and will come in the future, not just for your edification, but for your application. And may it produce something inside of you that will yield something great for our people. We can't any longer just accept these things as normal. It's time to fight back with truth. It's time to put ourselves in a position that we become those gods of the earth. You're a supreme being, young man and woman. Know your worth, know yourself, and know your nature. I thank you again for listening. And until next time, I leave you in the words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
So in the Holy Quran it reads, O you who believe, shall I lead you to a merchandise which will deliver you from a painful chastisement?
Quoting
You
scripture
should
of the Holy
believe in
Quran.
Allah and His Messenger and strive hard in Allah's way with your wealth and your lives. This is better for you did you but look at this admonition. Strive hard in the way of Allah and His Messenger with your wealth and your life. This month, the month of October, we in the nation of Islam want to help Messenger Muhammad with a mighty help, with a mighty striving with our wealth and our lives. We want to sell more Muhammad newspapers than we ever sold. We want to get more fish to our people than we ever have delivered. And give more charity than we ever have done. So that our messenger will smile at his
get them all.
These are
You know,
my
with the
disciples.
spirit.
Yes, sir.
I have
And then
asked
they
all my
look
helpers,
around,
and
yeah.
here they are. They are present. And in their help is their reward. In their help is their blessing. In their help of the messenger is mercy and forgiveness.
couldn't
And
refuse.
above all,
Yes,
victory at
that's
hand.
right.
Salvation. The
Oh.
certainty of divine help. If none of
Allah
us
couldn't
help,
give me a bill.
Allah is sufficient for the messenger, and He is certain of Allah's help. If you feel as I
This man is a helper, right?
Yes,
there.
we should unite with Messenger
He preaches
Muhammad
for
to
help.
help him,
That
Right.
makes him
so
a
that
great.
when Allah's help
Yes,
comes,
sir. That's right.
that help will also come to us. Thank you for listening. May Allah grant you the light of understanding as I preach you in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Mom.